The specialist Phil and Will are back, and today we are recapping episode number 6 of season 4 of The Traitors. We are going to be talking about an episode where you kind of knew the outcome. I feel like for a while there, maybe it got a little dramatic at the round table, but it feels like the storyline at the beginning is what the storyline at the end was. And Will gave me an instant face, and I'm not going to let him talk just yet. I'm going to give my reason why I knew who was going home. Are you ready for this?
God. I love this episode. I thought we were going to
tell you why I knew it was still going to be Ron.
We're so back.
Can I tell you why I still knew it was going to be Ron?
You read a spoiler.
No. And this is the one. Yeah, I did. Where's the picture of Blake? I got to solo him. No, this is the one problem with the round table. It's the only problem with the round table, but it's the problem for me. When they said, Tara, you go first, or whoever it was, it made it so that Rob wasn't going to be last. And if Rob was sending home Lisa, then he would have been the last person. So when it was going around the round table and everybody was doing their stuff and it was really close throughout, I said, oh my God, I forgot who it was. It was Mark, but I was like, somebody's sitting to the right of him. And so when it got to his vote, it was Ron has 5, Lisa has 4, and Colton has 4. And so when it got to him, I said, well, if he picks Ron or if he picks Lisa, Lisa's not going to go home because they would have made him the last vote. They would have started with Mark Ballas and then worked their way around the table. And when it got to him and he showed Lisa, I said, well, that's cool. And I do appreciate, as Rizgod says here, I'm just here to say Rob winning Traitors is going to be, didn't know Rizgod knew that word, cinema. Yeah, Will wearing his shirt. But I did say to myself, well, crap, that sucks because it's a cool move from Rob, and we're going to talk about it. It was really well done, but it just sucks that because of the way the show is designed, I knew that the next vote couldn't be for Lisa because they would have made it so that Rob was making the deciding vote, not Mark Ballas.
That crossed my mind for sure when we started going around, but then it's like, okay, Rob, we didn't know who his vote for until he read his vote. Like we had to really hang on his vote, and it could have been any of the 3. I think there are valid reasons for him voting Colton, Ron, or Lisa, and we'll talk through those decisions. I think Lisa was probably the most predictable, the way they were building it up as him having such a hard time and him deliberating, and even Alan giving him like, Rob, you got to write a name down, buddy. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if we've seen that before, but you mentioned Mark having the last vote, and Mark was shown throughout this entire episode as being a part of Johnny's Faithful 8. Faithful 8. I don't know why they didn't say that more clearly, but like that gives me Quentin Tarantino Hateful 8 vibes. Yeah. But the Faithful 8, Mark was a part of that, and that plan by the Faithful 8 was to target Colton. So there was very much a world watching this where you would have that last vote create a tie, and I think a 3-way tie in this case if Colton gets the vote.
It would have been 5-5-5.
I think it was Ron and Lisa each with 5, Colton with 4, and then you could end it with Mark voting for Colton, someone who he was in that group the entire episode, and that's a great way to end it. So I'm not so sure that the way they had Tara start reading was really telling you the votes. But either way, like this episode delivered, I think this was the best episode of the season for me, without a doubt. I think that the round table, I was not sure it was going to happen. I could have seen any 3 of them going home. I thought the deliberation throughout the whole episode on Ron, yes, maybe it's like they kind of told us the ending, but that was nice to have a through line of a story where like, look, it's Ron until it's not. And we had 2 very valid, is it not? Like if it's not, who is it? We had very valid options in both Colton and Lisa's a traitor. I said last week, I think what's lacking from this season, you're kind of rooting for the traitors. You are playing this game with the traitors. You are in on the secret. And when they don't have opposition, you just don't have as much fun with the show. So for Lisa to have opposition here, for the traitors to have, votes against each other, for Rob to throw a vote at Lisa, this is great. I'm with Rizgod. I would say this is cinema for me.
Oh, he's saying Rob winning is cinema.
Rob winning, but I'm just using Rizgod's. I'm just using Rizgod's word.
I'm just saying, don't misconstrue what Mr. Rizgod over here.
Sure, that's fine. All. I'm just using. I'm borrowing the word.
Yeah, and I look. I still understand what you're saying, but it just clicked in my brain of they know who the story of this episode is going through. Yes, Mark being part of the Faithful 8, all of that. Yes, Will keeps popping out his shirt. Will for some reason has the same wardrobe as Rob, which is really sad for Rob. I really feel bad for Rob.
Yeah. I didn't know who I was going to go after. I was going to say, if there is a wardrobe piece that stands out tonight and I have something similar enough, I will try to, make last week happen again. I didn't know if I was going to be able to. And then for whatever reason, Rob's confessional shirt this entire episode is just a denim shirt. So here we are.
See, I was almost going to wear the Natalie Anderson outfit, but then mine's in the wash, so I wasn't able to pull that one off.
Yeah, it's laundry day.
It's laundry day. It's the only reason I wasn't able to pull that off. Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to wear, because I needed Rob Cesternino to hang around so that he could wear just like normal long sleeve shirts, and I'd be like,
just plaid shirts. That's what I wore on episode 1, was just a normal plaid shirt. I almost brought that one back because Rob actually had a similar one too, so that's where my mind was going first.
But my point is the story of this episode is told through Rob, and you can make the argument about Mark, but at the end of the day, Mark is C level on this season so far, right? He's third tier. So I'm just saying, no, but what I'm saying is the vote that if Mark's vote was going to make it a 3-way tie, Rob's vote was also going to make it a 3-way tie. So they would have made it be Rob's vote that would have been the one that caused the 3-way tie.
That's fair. It's like, honestly, they could have started and ended anywhere and it would have been a 3-way tie.
Yeah, exactly. But you wanted the drama of what's Rob going to do? What's he going to do? And I still think they did get the drama from that. I'm not totally down on this episode. I will say, though, like the haunted house thing, I could give 2 shits about. Nobody being murdered. We had figured that out last week. That nobody was going to be murdered. So I did feel like there was a lull at the start of the episode where it was dragging a little bit, but it did get to the proper amount of drama at the end, because ultimately, like, Will, you talk about it all the time. You love the round table. You think the round table is a great place for the game to be decided. I do think that tonight was one of the first round tables where, look, there was drama last week, but that's not the kind of drama you want. It feels like this was the kind of drama that was real. It was authentic. And you really did get a sense that maybe they would let Ron survive a little bit longer. 1, because we need somebody entertaining on the season. And 2, because they didn't think that nobody was really thinking that he was a traitor by this point. And then they said, well, we just have to kill you to make it, so that we can get the official word. I mean, Ron knew he was gone the entire time. He was just talking to everybody very normal. Now, what's ultimately going to happen is I think that, I don't want to throw this out there because I know people overreact to this word ever since Survivor Co-Wrong. But I do think that the whole like bullying against Ron is going to pretty much backfire on almost every single person who did vote for Ron tonight, because it really looks like for the traitors, Ron was such an easy scapegoat. Of course, you're going to go for Ron. And I think that this is really going to help Rob massively, that he ultimately ended up voting for Lisa here. I think it could end up, as Rizgod said, help him win the game. I'm just here to say Rob winning Traitors is going to be that. And then he had said this one. Rob realistically picked up so much buy-in from the faithfuls. I think he's making endgame. I hope so, at least. I really think that this was a moment where he can't get murdered by the faithful. They're all saying to him, we don't trust you. We don't trust you. Doesn't matter if the traitors don't trust you. They can't murder you, and they're not going to lead a banishment, because right now Lisa's not looking too hot, and Candace defending Lisa is going to become very problematic for her as soon as Lisa gets figured out.
Yes, a lot to respond to there. Yeah, no, we'll talk about Rob's decision. I do think that with Ron, it was really well said by Candace, and I think some other people, maybe Candace kind of just leapfrogged onto this, or like figured out how to get herself in this boat where it's like, at this point, Ron, it doesn't matter if you are a traitor or a faithful. We need to know just to know. Like, we need to check you off the list. And that is a big problem for anyone playing the traitors, any faithful. It's like, if you survive 1 round table or 2 or 3 or 4, like Ron has, like, it doesn't matter. Your name is going to keep coming up. And at some point, it's like, who cares if we're right? We just have to eliminate you. And that's what happened with Ron. Kudos to Ron, though, for doing his one-on-one goodbyes with everybody. I mean, that almost looked like it saved him. That's where, and maybe it was some clever editing, but it seemed like that's when Natalie Anderson, that's when Tara, that's when Rob, that's when a lot, and obviously Rob knows the answer, but that's when a lot of people, you get them whispering around the round table saying, I just don't think he's a traitor. He was just giving off this very genuine goodbye. And he says this openly, I'm a faithful, and maybe the best thing for the faithfuls to win this game is for you to banish me so that you all know for sure that I'm a faithful. And I don't know if we've seen that argument before. And I know we're only 4 seasons into the show, but I thought that was an impressive kind of reversal where it really got some people's wheels turning. And it did, in fact, change some votes. I think there were quite a few people going in saying, we got to do Ron. And that speech from him, I think Natalie is one of them. I think Natalie was looking at Ron going in, and then she did kind of like the arguments that Colton was making against Lisa, that why would you vote for a housewife on night one? But Ron's speech, very well done. And I know it didn't save him this episode, but he made it close.
Yeah, and as Ebony, I had the comment up there, Ronnie Colton up at the round table though, and I feel like Ron did do a really good job. I mean, this is one of the first times I feel like we actually saw people's minds change at the round table in real time, away from the safe vote to maybe we're being convinced a little bit. I mean, we see this try to happen all the time. We saw it with Dan. We saw Boston Rob pull off something similar last season. We saw Ron pull it off earlier this season with Portia. I think ultimately, like I said, the people who did vote for Ron, I think, are going to be in a little bit of trouble now. That's Candace, that's Dorinda, that is Mark, Maura, Steven. Yes, Steven is still on the season, and Jam Jam. I think that those people, especially some people, have said they have a little bit of an inkling that it could be Jam Jam. The housewives are coming under a little bit of fire now. Lisa ultimately ended up voting for Colton, so maybe that helps her a little bit. But I do think coming out of this one, Colton saying to everybody in like a heat of emotion, saying, I'm going to go get those shields and make it really hard on all of you. Like, if you were worried about being banished at the round table, the shields don't do anything for you. So I feel like you have to look at how people act when they're in their most emotional. I feel like Lisa is starting to go into full actress mode here, whereas Colton is going a little bit more of like, I'm just going to get shields. You can't kill me then. And then it'll come down to just if you're going to banish me. I think that the way this is being set up is I think Rob's vote leads to Lisa ultimately being banished at the round table next week. But I am curious who's ultimately going to touch that brooch, which I will be wearing my brooch next week. Will has these.
It's a brooch.
Brooch, whatever. Dude, that's how much I'm going to wear it. I just have mine. I'm going to be wearing mine next week while Will wears his cheap little denim shirt over there. I have.
Well, I got to see it. We're not at next. I got to figure out my outfit for next week. I'll have to see with his I got to see what these banquet outfits look like. I think it's going to be I think the brooch idea is awesome. Like, I like this. This is way more in line with the poisoning than it is like burning a card or like opening a secret little
not
door
doing a murder in plain sight when you call it a murder.
I like how this time Alan's like, this time it's a murder in plain sight, but this time you'll actually have to do it in plain sight. It's like, okay, well, what was the last time? And that was kind of lame.
Yeah, I love that for sure. Now, okay, so there's a lot actually to cover with this episode.
There's a lot. That's why I like this episode. I really thought this episode came together very nicely.
Yeah, I'm not down on it. Like I said, I just felt like I looked down. I started this at 8:38 because God forbid Peacock starts their show at 9:00 when they say it's going to start at 9:00. So started at 8:38. It was 9:00 and nothing had happened yet. I'm sitting there going, they're not going for shields, which I think is a snooze. And we'll have to talk about what's going on with maybe the broken shield mechanic a little bit here. But what did you think about the fact that they decided to tell this non-linearly? And that one I know I pronounced right, believe it or not. What did you think about that decision of we see Alan come in and say there won't be a murder tonight, and then we see the rest of the episode play out, and then we find out at the end that they knew they were going to be doing a murder in plain sight after all of this. So do you think this factored into maybe a little bit of Rob's decision to vote for Lisa because he knew there was going to be a murder in plain sight? Do you think that he was hoping that maybe that would help, and then they knew that there was going to be the brooch? Give it to Candace and let Candace kind of take the negativity there when it's housewife versus housewife. Like, what do you think about that? And what did you think about the nonlinear element of this?
Yeah, I'm okay with the nonlinear part of it. I'm always a fan of that if it increases like the enjoyment and the storytelling. If it lands and is more suspenseful, and I think it is more suspenseful this way. I also think it's just less confusing. Like if we open the episode, they're in the turret, you can't murder anybody, but we're going to have a banquet and you're going to get this brooch. And then we go through a whole episode in roundtable. And now we have to like, wait, remember what Alan said like an hour ago? And maybe if you have ads on your Peacock, like you weren't fully dialed in for that hour. So like, if you're going to explain it once and explain it when you need to. So I get why they held that off until the end of the episode. But I do think you're right to bring up, and I was thinking this also, that this might have had an influence on Rob's decision on where he was going to throw his vote. And that if you know you're not going to go to the turret with Lisa, that you don't really have to see her face to face, that if somehow you throw the vote and it's not her who goes home, that she's safe, you don't have to have this weird interaction and then decide who to murder. you've already determined that Lisa is going to be wearing the brooch, which is honestly good for Rob and good for Candace. They don't need to do anything funky or weird. The tough part about murdering in plain sight is that you have to do something in front of everybody that you normally wouldn't do that might draw attention or heat towards you. Lisa already has heat on her. There are 3 traitors remaining. Rob's got no heat. Candace has no heat. All the heat is on Lisa, and she's the one with the brooch. So even if you're in Rob's shoes and you say, okay, even if I vote for Lisa and she stays in the game, let's say Ron goes home, is she going to be pissed at me? Yes. But she's the one that has to carry out this murder at the banquet. She might get caught. She might go through some other troubles. There might be more heat thrown on her. And guess what? Next banishment, Lisa might be the obvious choice. And good thing I threw my vote on her early because that cements my trust with the faithful. So I think that does play a role. Whereas if there's no murder in plain sight, you go to the turret and Lisa's still there. And now you're just gonna probably have a spitting match, a fight in some way of why'd you do this, why'd you do that, yelling back and forth, and now you need to all agree on who to murder. I don't know if that goes as well, and maybe Lisa can maybe sneak away easier. It's harder for Lisa to sneak away now that she has this brooch.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because at the end of the day, everybody's gonna look for something weird, right? You know, Rob's sister Nina was trying to figure that out when he was murdered in he was not murdered in plain sight. I don't care what they say. He was not. When he was murdered,
And
when
his
they
card
might not
was
have been in the
burnt in
castle.
private.
Yeah, his card was burnt in private when the faithful might not have even been in the castle.
And they lit the card on fire before they threw it in the fire. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, just whatever. So anyway, we're gonna get this murder in plain sight. People are gonna be looking for it. Rob was looking for it there. What's the conga line? Conga line of death. What's gonna happen there? Is if you touch somebody's shoulders, what's gonna be wrong? Where in this one, they all come in, they all do their thing. It looks like we might get like a housewife type fight in some way. It looks like somebody's gonna fight somebody in this next episode. Who knows? But you're going to be looking for that thing. You all know that there's a murder in plain sight. So you're going to be watching the glasses. You're going to be watching who's touching who. And if you see only one person touch that beautiful brooch on Lisa Rinna's shoulder, and that person is now dead, you're going to say, that's weird. Like, I wonder what happened. So I know that we're seeing that because it's like standing out to us. Them with the housewives and stuff, they might not even think twice about, yeah, of course she would have that. I think it is very her. I think that's what they all said and they all came to the agreement on. But I agree with you. It's going to be harder for her to keep it hidden that she's the one, because she does have the heat. And I think most eyes going into this episode, going into this banquet, are going to be on Jam Jam for voting for Ron. I think they're going to be on Lisa and they're going to be on Colton. And I think the one thing that really benefits Jam Jam here is he was kind of left out of the edit tonight. And I think that that's a good thing for him. I think that some people will be looking at Jam Jam, but I think us as an audience, we're not supposed to be paying attention too much to Jam Jam when it comes to how people are feeling about him voting for Ron. I feel like Lisa and Colton is going to come to a head next week, and we'll see what ultimately ends up happening with that brooch.
Yeah, I wonder what the rules are on the brooch, and maybe we should broach this subject now.
Well, all right.
Talk about all the brooch stuff here now that we're on topic. Do you think she's allowed to like take it off and just kind of like bump into someone or rub it on someone's shoulder or like graze them with it? Or does this have to be a voluntary touch? Like, oh, look at this cool thing. Like, what does she have to really get someone to do something, or can she just be the actor? Like, can she just do this? Is she the only party that is going to make this decision, or does whoever gets murdered gonna be like, oh my god, why did I touch the brooch? Why did I take this action? That's my biggest question. I don't know if it was clear in tonight's episode. Maybe it will be more clear in next week's episode. Are you pointing? You know,
I'm gonna go find it.
Does the chat know? Because
I'm gonna go find it. Sorry, I'm trying to mute it so that I can watch it and then do it at the same time.
Fine.
Alan says the word, so I'm just gonna find it real quick because he says something.
Okay, it's obviously more fun if you need somebody to like put their fingers on it and not just you. Oh, like, oh, excuse me, and lean forward and kind of like shimmy by somebody as you're getting out of your chair or like something. You're moving down the table.
I just got to the point where he says, "This time in plain sight." I'm sorry, I got to find it. You've done this to me before. Go on a rant. Talk about your shirt. Talk about something. I agree with you, but I'm going to find it. It's coming.
No, and I think that has to be it, especially if the producers are sitting there like, wow, that card thing was kind of lame, especially because Rob Sesternino clocked that this was a murder in plain sight, did everything he could to avoid it, yet it was just a deck of cards that they burned privately. So I think they're going to want to make this one more legitimate. I think a lot of fans come off of the Rob C one being like, that was kind of weak. That didn't hold a candle to the poisoning. So like, let's hear Phil with the news. I can now confirm Phil has the news. Please.
I have the news. I feel like I got breaking news. I'm ready to go.
News. Let's
I don't
go.
know if everybody saw when Sean McDermott from the Bills got fired and they were like, "Hey, can you give us this update?" And he was like, "No, I can't." And like just went black because he went to get the other news. That's me right now. He says one of you will have to wear this, and the first faithful to touch it will be cursed to death. So I don't think she can take it off. I think that it is something where she has to be wearing it. And I do think that now, in terms of can it just be, oh, I bumped into it, or oh, that's not like, what is that? I don't know. But he says the first person to touch it, and he says that she has to wear it. So I don't think she can take it off. I think it has to stay on her. I think it just comes down to, are you going to have somebody who's handsy, who's going to reach over? And I actually think that this might hurt the housewives. I think you might actually get a housewife who's a little bit friendlier with her, because Natalie Anderson's probably not reaching over going, "Oh, that's so cute. What's that?" But you could get Dorinda. Imagine Dorinda goes out like this.
Yeah, no, Dorinda is she's the one you probably fear for the most.
Yeah, because she could just reach over and go, "Oh, that's really cute. I like what you did with that." And then you get the confessional of her going, of Lisa going, "That is not who I wanted to go home tonight." I think that would be funny. I mean, this is definitely better than the Rob C thing, though. I mean, no matter how it plays out, it just feels like it has to be better. And we could end up in a situation like Parvati, where it's just a desperation move at the end of, it's not going to work. I just got to give it to somebody. Here you go, Ekin-Su, have it. You could get to that situation here where anybody gets it. I think Lisa did say she wants Colton out of the house, but she can't go after Colton now because that's just too obvious.
Well, a couple of things. I think Colton really kind of shot himself in the foot when he said, "All traitors, you can't murder me now." It's like, wait, why can't they murder you? Go after the shield. If you don't murder me tonight, I'm going to win every shield. And he said that in front of everybody. And we know that Colton was the one who made the case against Lisa and actually did rally some votes against Lisa. That like Colton going home would be like, oh my God, that's obviously there to frame Lisa. Like you could make that argument that Lisa, if Lisa was a traitor, she wouldn't be that dumb to just murder Colton after Colton came after her at the round table. And so you can kind of use that reverse psychology. And especially he announced it to everybody that he's going to go after every single shield and every challenge. And this is your last chance to take him out. Like, I don't think Colton getting murdered is as bad for Lisa's game as it was heading into this episode, or at least heading into this round table. I think he made it worse for himself after saying that line. We have a comment here for Ebony M. I'd maybe accidentally drop the brooch so that a faithful would pick it up for me. I think that is rather clever, but we don't know the rule. Does it have to stay on your person? And then are you allowed to use this as an item or a trinket in some way? Because I would think about taking it off in some way and using it in some, like, I don't know, use it as a bottle opener and then drop it. Yeah, something where you get it out on the table. Or let's play a game. Let's play pass the brooch. I don't know. That's kind of where my brain goes. It is probably still more interesting if you have to keep it on you and you have to get somebody to like rub it or touch it. But there's something funny at that. It's like I don't know. It's like the hot potato, and we know that it's gonna go off the next person who touches it. I think that's fun. I also think what's really helpful here, and that's not too heavy-handed by the Traitors producers to kind of really make this difficult for the Traitors, is that it's the first person who touches the brooch. And that means everybody can touch it. And if everybody can touch it, then maybe when they wake up at breakfast and they say, oh, someone was murdered in plain sight, they don't immediately think the brooch because everyone touched the brooch. It almost reminds me of, you ever watch Workaholics, Phil?
Not really.
Well, Workaholics, the first ever episode, the pilot of Workaholics, is they have a drug test at work, and they're really afraid that they're all going to test positive for drugs because they do basically every drug. And so they try to go do these solutions of fake urine and fake prosthetics, and like, how are we going to trick the drug testers? But at the end of the day, their solution was, let's just pee in everyone's cup. Let's distract the person, pee in the whole office's cup, so that the entire office tested for this is like the last closing monologue of the pilot of that show. Is like, how did everyone in the office test positive for LCD, mushrooms, cocaine, marijuana, and just list every possible drug? And I think that's kind of what you could do with the brooch. Make sure everybody touches it, and it's just the first person who touches it that counts. You like that one, Phil? It's a really funny show.
I do like that. I think I appreciate that, and I didn't really think about that until you said it, but I do understand where you're coming from now, because I'm thinking people are going to look, and if somebody touches Lisa's brooch, but it will have to be more than one. Ebony called you out. I was going to call you out on it. You said LCD, not LSD. You got sound system. I got
LCD sound system.
I might have said brooch, but you're doing LCD. Tested positive for television.
Yeah. There you go.
I love that. Anyway, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I don't know. I mean, Kaz Burchard also says we got some people talking about your take there about everything. And I want to bring up Kaz Burchard. Boston Rob tried that last season with Derek. He murdered him and tried to claim he was framed, and it didn't work. I doubt Lisa could pull it off. You also have Riz God, who says, I agree with that take, Will, but we have to remember most of the faithfuls aren't as strategic. I don't think people will think reverse psychology. I think those are the things, right? Like, we're thinking about this game as if it was all gamers. We're at the point right now where the gamers are few and far between. There's very few of them left. And so I do think that you kind of have to look at this stuff as a little bit more surface level. There's always one or two surprise people who play the game a little bit better than you thought. But for every one of those, there's 2 or 3 MJs who are just kind of along for the ride and really don't know what's going on. So I do understand where you're coming from, but I think if you go for him right now, it's like, oh no, they framed me. And everybody goes, Lisa, like, all of us were willing to banish him next. I don't buy it. Let's get you, almost for the same reason, right? We have now seen 2 votes in a row, and this is actually a problem maybe with the roundtable. We've seen 2 votes in a row where Rappaport went home because nobody liked him, and they said, we don't care if you're a faithful traitor, we just don't like you. And then we saw Ron go home because they said, we just have to know. Well, maybe they just have to know about Lisa if Colton ends up going home.
Or know about Colton. Colton's had more.
But no, what I'm saying, if Colton goes home, if Colton gets murdered, if she does kill Colton, and everybody says, oh, Lisa, it could be you, and she says, no, I'm being framed, they all go, well, we just have to know. And that's kind of a way to break the game of the traitors.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and maybe it's not as much game breaking as it is game evolution. And I think we're putting these kind of faithfuls that we don't hear from or see that much, or aren't as big of characters, in like this womp womp kind of boring faithful basket. But we did see Johnny today really say all we need is 8 votes. And that's the evolution of this game, is that it doesn't matter if you're faithful or traitor. You just need the majority at banishment. That's like the most important thing. And then obviously you don't get murdered. Don't draw too much attention to yourself. Don't piss off the traitors. Find ways to, I think that was what Colton was actually doing well before he did it too much, was that he was putting Lisa's name out there to everybody, that like, if he's right, then Lisa can't murder him. But I think that the problem with Colton was, and I think you could still murder him in plain sight here, or even if it wasn't in plain sight murder, if you could just choose anybody to murder, I think Colton would still be an option. It's just because he announced himself to all the traitors. He wasn't like targeting Lisa in any way. And he's been so vocal. He's run so many. I mean, this is like the 3rd roundtable in a row where he's like, this is a new name. We're doing this now. And he's actually moved votes. Lisa got 4 votes tonight, and she was heading into that roundtable pretty much getting 0. Colton even was saying, I'm not going to whip out the name tonight. I'm saving it for later. I'm going to be on Ron. But when everyone was moving off Ron, saying, wait a second, it's not Ron, he, I think, got worried himself and saying, oh, if they're not voting Ron, who are they going to target? I'm probably the next highest name on the totem pole here. I got to bring up Lisa. He even switched his own vote with his own convincing. So he has so much going on that it's not like him and Lisa have this huge one-on-one feud. And I know they do this episode, but it's not like that's been happening throughout the whole season. Colton has been a figurehead leading roundtables almost every episode this season. So it's like, I can understand why the traitors are like, enough is enough. And it doesn't have to be Lisa.
Yeah. I mean, he actually got 5. It was 5 total votes on Lisa. So Lisa got more votes than Colton, so it's 6-5-4.
Oh, that's right. It was 5.
Colton. Yeah. So
that's
Colton,
right. It was a 6-5. It was a 6-5-4. Right.
The other thing that I thought was really funny about this roundtable was when they called him out and said, "You keep throwing out names, you keep coming in hot, and you keep doing this distraction." And he comes out and does it again because he did say, "I have to protect myself. I know it's going to be me. I know you guys are starting to turn on me. So I'm going to say I think it's Lisa. I'm going to take a shot at Lisa." Might have actually worked out in his favor that he didn't have like a Dan Giesling moment here, right? Of he goes, he says, "I think it's Lisa," and then they all pick Lisa and Lisa gets voted out and she's a traitor. And everybody goes, did Colton know that? And he was trying to save himself and he knew that she was one. I think it might actually work out better in his favor that Ron ended up being the one who went home rather than Lisa. So I don't know. I mean, Colton's playing sloppy as hell, but that's just where my head goes.
That's the other big issue. That had crossed my mind earlier while watching was like, you don't even really want to be right, because if you're right, you're going to get that heat. Like saw it last season with Boston Rob. But how did he know? How is he so convinced that it was Lisa? Well, the only way he can know for sure is if he's a traitor, and then he's gone.
And we did get him calling her out one-on-one. What did you think about the "I'm holding her hostage"? I sits down and says, "I know you're a traitor. I'll protect you here if you protect me at the turret."
I think that one move is actually really smart. I think that is probably a correct strategy in playing this game. And I don't know if we talk about all the time. What is the correct move? So much of the Traitors feels random and luck based, where like you got to talk enough so that you're not suspicious. But if you talk too much, you're going to draw too much attention. And so it is tricky to figure out, how do I play this as a traitor? And I think but figuring out who a traitor is, being fairly confident in it, that is step one. And I think that is a difficult thing to do. And it seems like he has done that correctly, and maybe took him like on his third or fourth shot, but he got there. He's clocked Lisa as a traitor and he feels pretty confident in it. You go up to Lisa and say, "Look, I will protect you at roundtables because I know you're a traitor. That's the only way you can get eliminated. You can't get murdered as a traitor. Just don't murder me and we're good." I think that is like a valid way to do it. The only issue I think is when you get deep into the game, because at some point Lisa has to eliminate has to take out Colton, because she knows that Colton will never be in the ring of what's the ending of the show? The Ring of Fire, the Ring of Fire,
the ceremony. It's the
ceremony of
what is it? The fire ceremony?
Fire ring? I don't know. Where they throw the bags in, they say, "Do you think it's all faithful standing here?" She knows Colton will never do that. That's where the strategy kind of falls apart. But I think there is something to this where it can keep you maybe in through the middling rounds, where it's like, "I'm on to you. Trust me, I will not say your name. Just don't murder me." Then, I don't know. But then
Fire of Truth, Ebony said?
Fire of Truth? I thought it's the Circle of Truth that we get at the round table. I think, and if you do this strategy that Colton's doing, is that you have to already have dropped the name enough so you have that protection. And that was Colton's best move, was that he told 5 or 6 people, "I think it's Lisa. If I get murdered tonight, that means it's Lisa." And that prevents Lisa from making that move. Now, again, this is before he kind of blew up at roundtable and before he announced to the whole room. But he did some things correctly here, I think. I think this is an interesting way to see someone play the game.
Yeah. And then let's look at this comment here. James Barber, "I never understood why being right at the round table makes you faithful. Faithful will be wrong more often than not at the round table." What do you think about kind of how, we're talking about Colton, but just how people are being perceived, how Ron was, I think this is maybe like, this is kind of true some of the time and not others. It depends on who it is, but like Ron picked Portia wrong. And they're all like, "Well, he must be a traitor then." Well, maybe he's a faithful just who doesn't have the information. So what do you think about that? Are people like misreading? Like, why does Ron need to go home in this episode? I felt like it all was based around Portia being a faithful way back in the first round table.
Yeah, and this does happen a lot where it's like, "Oh, you were so confident." And then, it's like when you start the show, there's 23 people. So you got to pick. There's only 3 I guess there was 4. But this really comes down to the Donna thing. Everyone was going to vote Donna. And I think everyone felt that, let's just do Donna. Let's just do Donna. There was no need to change that vote unless you were extremely, extremely sure. And look, you could have gotten Portia at the next one. Ron could have made those same arguments at the next round table. Just let everyone kill Donna or banish Donna, and you find out she's a traitor. Woohoo! The fact that he was convincing enough to move the vote off of Donna, and then the very next roundtable they vote Donna, and then she turns out to be a traitor.
Nobody knew. That's the irony.
That is the funniest part. No one, the traitors didn't even know. It just gave everyone this like, oh, Ron, like you really went out of your way to save Donna, so you made this thing up about Portia. Again, I'm not like, and I think a lot of people said tonight, which I like where the show's going. It's like you spend more time with these people. We're getting close. We're getting to know each other. Getting to know each other's maybe tells and personalities. And people are saying, I just don't think Ron's a traitor anymore, even though everyone had this feeling that they just said, you know what, I think he's a genuine guy. And I know a lot of that was coming from Rob, who knows that he literally is not a traitor. But I think we heard it from enough other people that Ron was, I don't know, getting to know people more, getting to show his true personality.
And let's talk about this. So Johnny Weir comes up with his, we just need 8. It doesn't matter. Let's get 8 good faithfuls. He then names 2 of the 3 traitors in his group of 8 when there's 15. So that's how little he knows what's going on. But so you sit down and you get these 15 votes tonight. And obviously Ron is gone and he had voted for Lisa. But here's the other people who voted for Lisa: Rob, Natalie Anderson, Eric, and Colton. So those are the other 4 votes. Do you see them all teaming up potentially, and then Natalie maybe trying to draw Jam Jam into this because Jam Jam voted for Ron and Jam Jam might be trying to play a little defensive here? Like, do you think that this could be the birth of an alliance that more people might say, let's go Lisa? Or do you think that they are going to say, let's go Colton? Because it feels like the problem with this season, and I will call this a problem, feels like once you get a little bit of heat on you, they just vote you out to know that you are or aren't. And it feels like this season more than ever, it's hard to get the heat off of you because the faithful really are just playing I have an inclination about him. Let's pick him.
I don't think that's just this season, though. I think that's just baked into the format of the traitors. I think that's always been the problem. There's no way to decrease your threat level. There's no way to, if you survive a round table, you don't get any points. You just go, oh, well, we found out about somebody else, but we still don't know about Phil. We won't know about Phil unless the only way you can really be like proven faithful is by getting banished. That's kind of a tough part of the show for the faithful, that if you get a little heat on you, there's no, it's not like the GTA meter in any video game where you have like the cops and it's the stars, how many cops are after you, and that heat slowly goes on. It's like, no, that's not what happens here. Everyone's always after. People don't forget. Like, it's building up and it never goes down. I don't think that's just this season. I think that's been every season. I just
feel like it stood out to me more this season because I feel like more than ever they're so committed to, no, I have to get you. And I feel like it's happened. Michael Rappaport felt like he was going to go no matter what. Maybe he wasn't, but it felt like he was going to. Felt like it happened.
We said Ron was going last week and before.
And then Donna too. So it's like Donna, Michael, Ron, though. Like if Ron doesn't go last week, if Ron goes last week and Michael doesn't, Michael goes this week. Donna didn't go the first week, so then she goes the second week. Tiffany, I guess, came out of nowhere, but I'm curious to see if this will just continue to be the trend where it's either going to be Colton or it's going to be Lisa next time. And it's not like it's always going to be a third name kind of comes up as the surprise one. And that person always goes 2 weeks later or something like that.
Yeah, it could. I remember in season 2, it felt like everyone knew Parvati was a traitor
the whole time.
But there were so many little format twists. There was the coffin thing. There was a murder in plain sight. And then there was like a thing with fire where you was a chain elimination. And it was just so many things that weren't the round table where they kind of delayed the inevitable. I don't know if we're there with Lisa, but it seems to be in the middle. Like, you get the heat off you by not having round tables. I think that's like the way to do it.
So let's talk about kind of the format changes they've done this season then, because there's been a couple already. We didn't get a murder at the beginning of this episode because they didn't go and pick up shields. We had seen the secret traitor. They at least tried to make that happen. It ultimately didn't work. The secret traitor was also somebody who was making it. Here's your short list of who you can vote for. And now we're getting our second murder in plain sight. It feels like they really want to push these murders in plain sight more so than the turret, which I'm a little surprised at because I do feel like the turret is a really fun scene, a really fun sequence, but it feels like they want these murders in plain sight a little bit more. If we go and see this brooch and nobody touches it, then there's no murder for a second night in a row.
Oh, someone's going to someone's going to touch it.
Okay, but do you think that there's any part of Peacock / NBC / the production team that's saying there really is a chance nobody's going to touch this thing? Or do you think that it's going to be like, no, this will happen? Because this could be 2 nights in a row without a murder. And then the banishments are when things are going wrong. Nobody's getting shields anyway, but we always talk about the shields don't protect you from banishment. Now, banishment's also the only place that people are actually going home. So the traitors aren't doing anything, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I think there's probably some. I wouldn't be too concerned. I think the murder in plain sight. I think we heard exit press too from Ek and Sue or people on season 2 of the poisoning, where it's like they're there for so long, and it's not like this formal. All right, everybody, like go around and like this is a reality show, and they're going to be eating, they're going to be drinking, and there's no world where you can't get someone to touch the brooch. So I'm not concerned with that. I think what likely happened is after season 2, I mean, the best moment and the most suspenseful scene of this show in its very short history is the poisoning. It's the murder in plain sight where Parvati poisons Ekin-Su, and we don't know how she's going to do it, who she's going to do it to, if she'll even get to do it in time. It's phenomenal television, and it's something in reality competition that we hadn't really seen yet. I think the goal was probably, how do we get more of those moments? How do we feel the suspense that the traitors feel? Because when you play these games, and Phil, we say it on every podcast. I feel like we bring up One Night Ultimate Werewolf or Secret Hitler or The Resistance. When you play these games and you get one of the traitor or bad guys roles where you have to lie the whole time, you kind of, your blood gets pumping a little bit. Like, this is suspenseful. And I think some of these murders in plain sight, it's like, you want to feel that tension of, are the traitors going to get caught? Can they pull that off? So I totally get why they want more of these. I wouldn't be surprised if they start going like half and half on a season. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to come up with more clever ways where you have to do, it reminds me a lot of the Beware advantages from the earlier seasons of the new era of Survivor, with getting the beads from people, or even the phrases a little bit. I know that's not as lying as much, but doing things in front of people to, achieve a different motive. Like, I need to kill you. I need to have you touch my brooch. That's more fun to watch than I think 3 people in the turret. Although I will say the turret scenes are great. And it almost felt like, and maybe I'm wrong on this, it felt like we got an informal produced turret scene tonight. In that kitchen, the 3 traitors are just sitting there. When will you ever see the traitors after a round table where everyone's moving? How
did nobody go in that room?
How did they? I think what happened was, and I could be wrong here, we get the vote from Rob to vote for Lisa, which is huge news. This is huge news in the control room. Any producers there, it's like, oh my God, we got a big moment. We need the fallout between Rob and Lisa. We need Candace to be there too. We need to see these people. They're shooting themselves in the foot. How do we not have a damn turret scene? This is juicy. We need this. Let's produce a turret scene that feels like it's just them talking after in the kitchen. I don't think there was any risk. I think they gave the traitors time to talk and discuss and just have their reactions and fallout to the roundtable. They aren't planning anything about the murder in plain sight. They already did that the night before. So it's not like this is breaking the rules of the game or anything, but give us the audience that scene, because we wanted to see it. And then they had all this B-roll of people looking around. And I think they shoot those, just that they're shooting that probably every night with every person, just getting shots of people poking around, looking through doorways and hallways, just because they know that's how you cut this together to make it suspenseful. I don't think there was a world in which anyone was walking into that kitchen or bar or
and so that everybody knows, they're pulling aside multiple groups also to do different conversations. It's not just, oh, where did those 3 go? Like it's like when you're doing confessionals in any other show, people are getting pulled over. What did you think about the round table? And it's okay, some of you can stay down, some of you go up, some of you go over.
I'm surprised. I don't know about that part of it. I feel like once they're in there, after breakfast, it seems like they have time to just go through the castle and chat. I think that's probably pretty free flowing. Then they're pulling people for interviews, and then it seems after they get back from the missions, it's pretty free flowing. They're usually eating dinner, and that's where they're plotting before the roundtable. And I think that's probably pretty free flowing too. I don't know if they're pulling people and telling people where to sit and everything. Maybe it's like, if you're going to go outside, sit here because it looks the best, but they're not telling people this is like who you're talking to or talk about this.
I guess what I'm more
legally,
saying,
like they have to let the game play out naturally.
but these three people being pulled into a room together isn't raising as much suspicion as you might think it is, because these types of movements and stuff are happening throughout the house all the time.
Well, right, and they are, as we've said enough, like they don't stay in the castle; they stay in a hotel. No one's spending the night there, so they already have these procedures in place to sequester the cast, where everyone is isolated, and then they can pull out the traitors to do their turret scene or to do any other scene. And it really felt like this bar scene was all the other faithful were sequestered. They have a trailer for each person somewhere at home base, or like wherever their set is, somewhere on the field or forest. They have a trailer. Everyone goes in. They're in there with a PA, sitting quiet. They pull out the three traitors, go back to the bar, and we'll do this impromptu scene, because I think
and then go back, get changed, and we'll do the banquet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like this idea. I think this whole idea is better from Cass. Production said we need to do another murder in plain sight because these faithfuls are clueless. So maybe that could be. But I do feel like the murders in plain sight are getting better and better, and I think that is maybe the future of the show more than just three people in the fake at the end.
It's a funny joke by Cass, because this does feel like a pretty clueless group of faithfuls. Although Colton on to Lisa, but this stuff is planned so far in advance. Like you're not creating murders in plain sight reacting to how well the faithful are performing. Like the whole banquet segment, it looks like it's a big set piece. Like everyone's dressing up. They have a huge table. Alan's going to be dressed up. They're going to have some things to do, I imagine, probably extravagant food and drink. I mean, it's a big segment for the show next week. And we've seen this where they break format and they don't do a mission or they don't do a round table and they do something different. And that's fine. I think that's part of the fun of the Traitors. You're living in this like kind of castle-y, wicked world, and having a spooky banquet where someone's going to get murdered is fun.
So we said we'd talk about the shields and whether or not we think the shields are working. We have Ebony here. Why did no one go for a shield at today's mission? And now this is 2 episodes in a row where they ultimately didn't go for shields, and shields are now being put into the challenges, which is nice. So I have this is a twofold question. One, are they happy that people aren't taking shields? 2, were you surprised that the final 3 people who weren't a part of running out and actually going to the graves weren't giving a chance to go and grab a shield, and only they would know it, or something, some sort of twist for everybody else has already left, but you 3 are still here?
I don't know. I think that's part of like the game, like the challenges. They let them decide who's going to do what in what order. And maybe that's some information you can glean from like what players are doing for what reasons. Like Jam Jam going out early because he wants a shield. I know he doesn't ultimately end up with one, but him wanting one still tells you a lot about where he is in the game. And people that maybe are sitting there at the end not caring, maybe they're traitors. Did we have any traitors that were sitting there at the end? I don't know. Was Rob? I feel like Rob was one of the last people there.
Wasn't it Rob, Ron, and... God, I forget. It was Rob, Ron.
Maybe that wasn't smart by Ron. Like Ron should have been like, yo, give me I really want a shield. But then maybe people read into that like, oh, he's just a traitor trying to pretend.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's always the double back and forth. How many times do you go back and forth? I'm okay with that part of it. I think what really worked with the shields in season 2 when they were first introduced was, I guess there was a shield in season 1, but they were totally different. It was that like closet room. And the Bachelor guy got every single one of them, I think. Anyway, what was so good about the shields in season 2 with Pilot Pete was that it wasn't public knowledge who got them. And I think now, like, they're still trying to do that. But the way last week's had to work was to give it to 4 people at once. And that's still pretty public. And you're still all agreeing to do something. And 3 other people are going to know you have one. Plus, if you don't take it, you're pretty sure you already have one anyway. That was probably the bigger flaw in last week's design, even though I like it had to go to all 4 at once for that twist to work. It was a little prisoner dilemma-y. But here, it's almost like you need to let someone do it on their own and have no one find out. Like if Jam Jam could have gotten away with taking one and having no one know, he absolutely would have. It was because he was with Mora that he didn't. So I think that's where this one didn't quite land. And you asked the question, are they happy no one took a shield? No, absolutely not. You want people to be selfish. You want people to take shields. You put these elements or mechanics into the game. You want them to be used. You want them to create conflict or create, opposition for the traders in some way. But this one was, this challenge was kind of womp womp. I do think, as for like all the horror challenges that we've seen on the traders, it seems like there's one or two every season where they really try to freak the players out, and they're usually pretty hokey. I thought this one seemed like legitimately more scary and interesting than some of the other ones.
I hated this challenge. I thought it was awful. I really did. I thought this challenge was terrible. Well, here's the thing. I thought the mechanic of, okay, there's going to be a different clue each time was kind of fun, but I feel like that was fun, but it felt like it reverted back to the pointless nature of the challenges from season 1 and early on in season 2. And it just felt like there was really I mean, you have to think there were 6 clues in this episode. They sped through 2 of them. They like fast forwarded through 2 of their 6 things.
I think
because
like
they
3
got
of them.
Did they? Whatever it was, they sped through half of them then because there was so little drama based around it. Like watching them try to figure it out wasn't actually that much fun. And then who was going out didn't really end up mattering because nobody ended up grabbing a shield. And, that I think makes this for, again, I sat there and for the first 25-ish minutes of this episode, I said, okay, I'm watching a Bravo show. I don't care about what's going on. There's nothing dramatic. There's nothing strategic. There's nothing exciting. It just feels like I'm just watching people walk around a house, and we knew that they weren't going to murder. And then we knew that this wasn't going to happen. And so I felt like there was almost no drama to this challenge. And I feel like last season we had the one of the holding hands where Rob was holding whoever's hand and like helping her get through it. And, it was like the gross out kind of challenge. It felt like the stakes were a little bit higher.
That was a good one, but that's more like gross. This is more like haunted. I don't put those in the same.
But it was at the cabin. That's why I think of it. But it's just like there's no stakes. I watched Jurassic World Dominion, the third one in that god-awful trilogy. And it's like they do a bunch of action sequences and everybody's running around and blah, blah, blah. But there's no stakes to anything that's happening. It's just like, look at this explosion. Look at this flashy thing. Look at dinosaur. Like it's just that. And that's what this felt like to me. Like the production design of it is cool. We've never once said anything bad about the production design of the Traitors. But overall, like the meat and potatoes of it just wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This was like definitely one of the weaker challenges, probably the weakest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, again, like we've said it enough on this. Like, who cares about how much money they get? We don't care. Just make it a balanced prize pool every season. Make it whatever you want. $500,000 split between whoever wins. And the challenges need to be about the shields. How are you getting shields? What do you need to do to other players to get shields? I like also not only shields, but like, I guess it is still technically shield, but like putting people up for murder. I know then it's like whoever isn't put up gets a shield, but that's still the same. That's still more interesting. Like deciding who is going to be eligible for murder or shortlist or whatever you want to say. That's what these challenges need to be about. And there's a reason why Survivor, that's going to its 50th season, it's an immunity challenge.
Well,
and you play challenges for safety. It's like play the challenge to see who gets a shield and who's up for murder. That's kind of.
You know what would have been a fun twist on this one, since it was the arm popping the bag up? Instead of having a shield grave, what if one of the ones that you went to do was just shields instead of the money? So now the 2 people who went for that one get the shield. And then at the end, it says, oh, you guys got $15,000 out of $18,000. And Alan doesn't say whether or not anybody got a shield, and he just keeps his mouth shut because let's say they successfully figured out all 6 names, but one of them was automatically going to be a shield. So now you have 2 people who have shields and they have to trust each other on it. And it was always going to be in this one because the people are like buried, whatever you want to do. I feel like that could be a fun twist on it where you're forcing the shields into people's hands. You're making people play on their heels, toes, whatever. And it also makes it so the Traitors, unless a traitor is in there, which could always be a possibility, the Traitors don't know who did it. So I think that would be fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's a mechanic in which you are guaranteeing 2 shields get put in the game. And that's probably a good thing.
And it's not people choosing.
Look at challenge producer Phil over here.
I just pat myself on the back because then it's not people choosing. So then the motivations aren't even as known. And it does feel like with the murders in plain sight, I do feel like them doing more of those maybe is to and with the short list, it feels like they didn't want the whole house to just be eligible because they're trying to eliminate the more of that aspect of, well, what would make the most sense? What would be this? What would be that? They want, I almost feel like they want the murders to feel a little bit more random. And so I think getting the shields into people's hands a little bit more randomly would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think as long as they're mixing it up each week, I think that's fine. Like you just pop up, and maybe it has the money and 2 shields. So it's like you don't even need to, or maybe it's a choice. Maybe it's money or shield. I know that's presenting the same choice essentially. But when you see it right in your face and the shields are dangling in front of you, maybe that helps people, make it easier for them to take the shield over the money, especially when the money is $3,000.
Yeah,
So
like
it's
who
like,
cares?
yeah,
Half these people make that in a day just from their stocks. Like they're not doing
yeah,
anything. It's happening.
yeah. Something that we said we were going to keep diving in on, and this is usually, this is how it goes. We just kind of ramble. We don't really have a structured or formatted podcast here. Rob's decision on his vote. I see a comment here by Brett Cott. Rob had a free out to just vote for Ron and he let his emotion get in the way. I think a lot less of him as a player after tonight. So we haven't really gone into what was the right move. What do we think of his move for Lisa? I know we had made an argument. Well, the murder in plain sight helps him maybe vote for Lisa. It makes it easier for him to vote for Lisa. Could he have voted Ron or Colton here? What about those options? And what was his best option?
So for me, I think that the best option was what he did tonight. I think 100%. I think that's crazy from Brett Cott over there. Thank you for the comment, but I think it's crazy. I really do. I think that the best thing that Rob could have done was exactly what he did tonight. If he votes for Ron and Ron is not a traitor, which he wasn't, then Rob's kind of coming out of that. Are people going to listen to him as much? We don't really know where they're going to go with that. By him voting for Lisa and the majority going with Ron, and Ron ultimately being eliminated and being a faithful, now Rob has a lot of clout. He can talk to any of those faithful and convince those faithful to do anything. They're going to be on board with him. And if he turns around and he goes and votes for Colton, it's so against his type. I thought his argument was perfect. He made the argument that I already said that Ron was a stand-up guy, and I said Colton was a stand-up guy. I like both of them a lot. If I turn around and vote for one of them now, and then they're not a traitor, I look horrible. Now, of course, Candace and Lisa did not understand that at all. But at the end of the day, they don't need to understand it because they can't do anything about it with Rob right now. And people trust Rob a lot more than they trust them. I think it was 100% the right move.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. And I think it becomes a better move once Colton throws Lisa's name out there and you start to see other people kind of chime in. You see Natalie Anderson saying, I would never vote out a Survivor player on night one. I just wouldn't do that. For you to vote out a housewife on night one, that screams traitor to me. So once he saw this name gaining traction, it makes it way better for him. Because look, there's a chance he votes Lisa and Lisa goes home. I mean, Lisa could have gotten 6 votes tonight. And then you are sitting in, I mean, if it's a 6-5-4 to get Lisa out and she's a traitor, the 6 people that wrote Lisa's name down are going to be so solidified as faithfuls. You're going to look so good. And even though that didn't happen, it's almost like, and you've said this a bunch tonight, and it's kind of like, talked about it with the show and maybe a problem with the show. Once someone's name comes out, it doesn't go back. So why not write Lisa's name down? You know she's probably getting eliminated in the next couple roundtables anyway, and you're going to look good having voted for her on this first vote. And probably he continues to vote for her in subsequent votes if her name continues to be this hot.
Agreed.
And then what are Candace and Lisa going to do? Are they going to start trying to throw shade at Rob? Are we going to see the Danielle versus Carolyn thing like we did last season? Like, what's their counter? If they're like,
here's
Rob,
the thing. If they start throwing shade at Rob, everybody's going to go, well, why are you so mad at Rob for voting for you, Lisa? Because I do think what Rob did here that was different than maybe what Colton did was Colton's protecting himself, right? And he's throwing a name out there. And then if Lisa ends up being a traitor and Lisa goes, people are going to go, Colton knew that because Colton's a traitor and Colton was desperate. Rob wasn't desperate here. Rob really had nothing to gain from this situation, from changing his vote to Lisa, at least in the eyes of all of the faithful sitting at that round table. He's not up for elimination. He's not sitting there defending Ron in this moment, saying, Ron, I like you so much, whatever. He knows that the odds are Ron's going to go home. If he's a traitor, if Rob is a traitor, it's very easy for him to just say, sure, let's vote for Ron. Ron's a traitor. I knew it was going to be Ron. You almost protect yourself a little bit more in that moment. I think him knowing that Ron wasn't a traitor, that he was a faithful, and then voting for somebody who's ultimately going to be a traitor, lays the breadcrumbs for guys. I said this last week, and I wasn't the one who brought her up, though. Colton was. So be more worried about Colton. I just got on board with that because I think it was the right move. So, yeah, I think he's coming out of this feeling, I think he's coming out of this in a fantastic position. I really do. Like, I think he couldn't have played this any better than he did tonight. I think that he put himself in the best spot where when Lisa eventually does get outed as a traitor, he's going to be able to say, I voted for her every time. And I knew it wasn't Ron. You guys are crazy. And it's not going to look like a desperate move to save himself. Whereas for Colton, when Lisa does go home, I think all eyes turn to him and they say, you knew. Let's go for Colton next. That's what I think.
Yes. And here's a where was this? Something about recruitment. Who just brought this up? And it's in the chat. That someone said yes, here it is. Okay. I think Rob wanted to banish Lisa and recruit Colton or Ron. I don't know if that was his plan, but this makes me really think, now that we're talking recruitment, did Colton want to get recruited by Lisa? Was that his, when he says that one-on-one with Lisa and says, I want to win with you. I want to win this game with you. And he's so confident they're on opposite sides. And maybe that's where, because we had talked about what was his thinking in that. And I kind of said, well, eventually Lisa's going to need to get Colton out because Colton will never allow them to be together in the fire of truth or whatever. Yeah. But it seems like, and the show didn't outright say this, but the only thing that makes sense is that Colton was saying, keep me in the game until there's a recruitment and then recruit me. And then we'll be teammates.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe he said that off camera, or he said that, but it didn't make the cut. It's like, I just want to win the game with you. It's kind of enough of a hint. And then going back to Brett saying, Rob playing emotionally, maybe he was, but I think that's probably what the show wants to tell us. And maybe Rob thought this through and was like, no, the best game decision is to vote for Lisa.
Yeah, I don't feel like it was emotion really at all. I think he was able to play it off.
They did sell it in his interview and his I have gotten to know these people. These are my friends. This game sucks. This is really hard. They're pulling that out as a human. They want the human side of this. That's how they want to tell their story. Probably a game move, though. I don't think this is playing emotionally.
And I also think that, to everybody else there, it might look like an emotional move. But really, it's, he's able to use I'm just, shucks, I'm just that good old boy from Alabama. Don't worry about me. I mean, he's playing a JT Traitors game. That's really what he's doing right now. All right, here's my last thing. James Barber here. Once Colton and Lisa go, there are way too many people that are obvious faithfuls. Who will the heat be on? Jam? Question mark. This is probably my biggest thing going into next week, because we don't do predictions and power rankings. We're an hour and 3 minutes in. We're going to be wrapping this up shortly.
Yeah.
That is probably right now with season 4 what my biggest complaint still is. There are now we lose Ron Funches, who after the first night of episodes, you were like, I love Ron. Ron's great.
Ron was great. Ron was fun for the show.
We've lost Ron. We've lost Sesternino. We've lost Ian. We've lost Tiffany. We've lost Michael Rappaport, who obviously was very polarizing and said some things people didn't agree with, but at the same time, massive TV character. You've lost really, really, really Don Kelsey. The whole Swiftie Nation.
What is it? Monte? Who is the
Monet Exchange? Monet. Another big character and another big personality. So you've lost all these huge personalities. And I'm not trying to shade the people who are left. Stephen Coletti still has not had a one-on-one. I don't think he has literally sat in that chair and talked to the camera yet. Johnny Weir, Tara Lipinski. I get that Johnny's trying to play it up a little bit. He's trying to do stuff. Johnny Weir feels like the British Royal of this season, though, where this is kind of a little meh. It's kind of a little bland. Tara's not really doing much. Dorinda, who they brought back, hasn't really delivered. Obviously, Rob is going to deliver, Candace is going to deliver, and Lisa is going to deliver because they're the traitors. But I'd also argue, as a Survivor fan, Natalie Anderson's not really bringing this massive thing to the game. So when I sit here and I watch what we have left, I do get concerned that if this does go the route of Colton or Lisa going next week, it's not so much that they can't build the story to tell the story of why these other people would win or get eliminated or whatever it was. The question is going to be, do I care? Right? Do I even care at that point? Because all of the big personalities have gone out so early. I know that big personalities go out every season, but it feels like this season more than ever, it is just so front loaded. And so I do have that concern, not necessarily for next week, because I do think the whole Lisa versus Colton will be good. But if we lose Colton, let's say in a nightmare scenario, Colton gets murdered in plain sight, and then Lisa gets banished at the round table. What are you watching for the last 4 episodes? It's a genuine question.
I think it's fair with the boot order in that we've lost a lot of great personalities. But in terms of there's so many obvious faithfuls left. I think they're obvious to us because we know who the traitors are. I don't know. They're not obvious to everybody else. I don't know if you're sitting there and being like, oh, Dorinda is so obviously a faithful, or who's another one? Like Eric,
Maura.
Tara, Maura. Why are they obvious? Why can't they be traitors? Who said they're not allowed to be traitors? And once these bigger personalities go, they have to banish people. People have to get murdered. Decisions have to be made. And that's where the format provides conflict. People have to accuse each other of being traitors, and they're often wrong. People have to defend themselves. People have to fight back and claw. And that's where you're going to get your television. And those people often get eliminated. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of oh, the loudest, biggest people are going to be tossing out names, fighting and clawing. And yeah, they're going to get eliminated early. But then what, they're just going to sit at the round table and not do anything? No. And we still have, as it stands now, we have 3 traitors left. We only get, if the nightmare scenario happens, if Colt and Lisa go next episode, you're likely then getting a recruitment. That's intrigue. Who's going to be that next traitor? It might be someone it could be Dorinda. It could be Steven. It could be Mark. Who knows? Probably not. We maybe would have heard more from them by now. But you do have that intrigue. And then I do think Jam Jam's still here. Natalie Anderson's still here. And maybe they haven't delivered, but give it time. I don't know. And plus, we have traitor on traitor infighting right now. And that's some of the juiciest drama that the traitors can deliver is when they're infighting. So let's see how it plays out. I think this can still be a very good season. Again, tonight was the best episode of the season. I had a lot of fun with it. Next week seems like it's going to be a good time. I already love the mechanic for the murder in plain sight. So I'm not down. I'm going to say this can end very well.
I hear what you're saying, but my thing is we are now over halfway into the season. There's 11 episodes. That's it. 11. And we've now watched 6. And that's where I just go, if I didn't watch Survivor, I wouldn't know Natalie Anderson. I think Jam Jam's delivered. Mark, I don't really know. Steven, I don't really know. Maura, I don't really know. Kristen, I don't really know. Tara, I don't really know. Dorinda, this is the second time she played. I don't really know. Eric, he had the musical ear thing, so I'll give him a pass there. Colton's been great, and Johnny started to show up tonight. I just feel like it's not even for me that they're obvious faithfuls, like the comment had said or anything like that. It is just more of, what am I going to care by the time some of these people do get good? And yeah, Ryan Chan says Maura could be a good recruit for Rob. Yeah, she could. And that could be really interesting. There's still interesting dynamics that can play out because of the format of the show. I just think that the way that it's been edited thus far has been so heavy on the people who are gone that it's like, okay, but there's 14 people left in the game. Get rid of the 3 traitors. So there's 11 people left. Out of those 11, 8 of them are legitimately barely on my screen. And they're not thinking about anything. They're not doing anything. Nothing is happening with about 8 of those 11 people. That's more than half the cast. We're down to final 14. That's a problem.
Well, we'll see. Now, again, now Ron's gone. Michael's gone. Seston, all those people are gone. More screen time for everybody else.
Ron's gone wrong, man. Good movie.
Poor Ron.
Anyway. All right. like this video and subscribe to the channel. You got anything else you want to say here?
Well, you got to download Pathways. Is the link in the description. Puzzle app on the App Store, daily puzzles, puzzle packs. I don't think I've ever mentioned on the Traitors podcast, only on the towards the end of Survivor. So if you're just a Traitors fan or been looking for a daily puzzle, you got an airplane ride, or you want to kill some time, have some fun,
it's in here.
Download Pathways on the App Store now and leave a 5-star review if you really want to. If you're really a dedicated specialist fan, you write a 5-star review. It always helps.
There you go. All right. Well, like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're only listening for the Traitors, we'll be back next week. If you're listening for everything else, tomorrow night, John and McKenna, myself, and Blake will be kicking off Celebrating Survivor, a new series that'll be running Fridays through the premiere of Survivor 50. First 10 seasons we are covering tomorrow. We're going to talk everything from gameplay to players to moves to what was kind of going on in the culture around the show at the time. It's going to be really good. I feel like it's almost like a documentary, except in podcast form. I'm really excited to get into that one and see what we have in store. We're doing it for 10 seasons at a time moving forward up until, like I said, the premiere. We are going to be ranking our top 50 or drafting our top 50 villains next Wednesday. So make sure you tune into that one. If you didn't check out our 50 biggest 50 snubs yesterday, that was fun. Just listen.
The drafts have been really fun.
They've been really fun, especially
characters. We opened it up with characters and we did the list and we averaged them out, which I think works for that one. But the drafts have been really fun.
Yeah, listen for Blake's second pick in the second round, whatever. It's just incredible TV. So make sure you go check that one out. And what else do we have going on? That's really all we have going on at this time. Will and I will need to be doing our, if Rizzo's still here, everything you need to know about Rizzo to prep for Survivor 50. Our defining episode series is done. So if you want to go check out,
we have Rizzo join us for that one, and he can just tell us everything.
He can tell us his life story. I love that.
If he hadn't already gone on to the show and knows what's going to happen, then maybe we could have made that work.
I know. It's
we
a
have
bummer.
to do it without.
We should have recorded it back in like June. Or like right before, when he knew he was going on to 50, but didn't know. We could have like called CBS and been like, hey, help us out. But we got that one. And then Blake and I will be doing everything you need to know about Savannah at some point as well to close out those two series and move forward. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode and we'll see you next time.
See ya.